So layman, you were saying traps are gay. You were saying traps are
You know, the fascinating thing about traps really is that it opens quite a few really weird questions. So, for example, if a trap is really cute and feminine and you are genuinely attracted to him or her, depending on your philosophical outlook, does that make you gay?
Yeah, so this basically comes down to intent and action, right?
Well, weebs are gonna be weebs, what do you know? Anyway, traps are very weird. When people ask whether or not traps are gay, there's no clear answer. Some people say that they are, others say that they're not. It's like Schruntdinger'S cat, or one of those really weird optical illusions. Or Aqua's panties. What? It's a very important dilemma. Depending on your perspective, it can either be a boy or a girl, or gay or not gay. The premise of a trap is simple. It's basically a character that appears female, but turns out to be a male. There are a multitude of reasons for this. The main thing is probably because the characters love to cross-dress, or some of these characters bored looking like a woman so much that people got really confused, or maybe other factors. The perspective of whether or not traps are gay cannot be answered through a simple binary answer. From the perspective of one, you can feel attracted to characters on their face value because of their feminine qualities, but takes it to another perspective and you find out that the character obviously has a dick, so you're saying that you're attracted into a guy. Honestly, I find both perspectives valid, which is why I would call this trap dilemma a little bit of a Schruntdinger'S cat. Traps are gay, yes, but traps are not gay, also yes. Again, depending on your perspective. Now, regardless of what you think about whether or not traps are gay, there is something very problematic. And that problematic thing is misgendering. Oh no! Watch out! Don't misgender people or else the Bill C-16 is gonna eat you in the face! As our last stream proved, when you find certain characters that turns out to be a man, but then you refer to him as a she, it creates a lot of accidental transphobia. But if that's what you really call transphobia, that is very paranoid of you. I thought transphobia means people who say, fuck you trans people, and made it blatantly clear to the public. No, it also includes people who make accidental mistakes on pronouns, but do not want to make those accidental mistakes because they try to be as respectful as much as they can. And of course, a blogger caught up on this and decided to write an entire thing on it. Now, I want you all to stop for a moment and guess whose blog this is, because I don't think the person or the blog itself are important. I think the ideas are important. Try to guess without clicking the archived source link in the description. If you do that, you're an ass. Anyway, here's the title for our article of today. Trapped by Fandom. The very real harm of calling trap a genre. Is trap a genre? No, trap is a character description, not a genre. Just from the title alone, you might think that this is a normie website, but depending on your perspective, you might or might not be surprised. Although, to be fair, trap can be considered a genre if the entire anime's premise was basically just to trap guys to... Well, you get the idea. Oh, and as we're reading through this entire thing, do you guys miss a little bit of a classic reading format? For those of you who joined that Pathetic Weeb's Trap Hunt stream, congratulations! Some of your suggestions and posts made it here. Some, not all. So let's get reading and confuse your dicks and pussies. And disclaimer, some of these aren't traps, some of these are reverse traps, and some even are characters that are actually their gender. I'll leave it to your own imagination of what genders they are. Recently, Junei, a YAOI manga publisher, included the word trap as part of their marketing in a tweet that has since been deleted, but we have a screenshot below.
Every day's great.
No, not that, Junes. How can you even confuse the two? Although, to be fair, she could probably grow up and love another Junei. But seriously, deleted? Come on, Junei, you can do better to not trust the normies. But let's get reading through the tweets. Maybe there's something interesting.
Junei will now be offering trap manga. Got an affliction for a bit of both genders? We got you covered.
OMG. Are you implying that there are only two genders? But seriously, I would love to read myself some trap mangas. That would be really cool. I mean, I really have this nice fetish of...
The following section of where our host shares his opinions on his sexual fantasies is redacted, not necessarily because it does not follow YouTube's community guidelines, but because a large portion of users do not want too much information on lewd things and people's sexual fantasies on the internet. I understand that this is your first internet browsing experience, and we deeply regret that you are subscribing into this channel without knowing firsthand. We apologize for the inconvenience and hope you all have safe and clean travels of this wonderful place that is the internet, free from all sorts of degeneracy.
Regardless of my sexual fantasies... Good God, I wasted for like 5 minutes throughout that thing. I should probably edit it. Anyway, this tweet of June, which I'm gonna call Junes, so that I can have happy memories. Every day is great at your Junes, has nothing wrong with it. Of course, the Mortal Guardian Initiative are gonna go, oh my god, there is something wrong with it. Horrible, horrible, you are such an immoral person.
Just a reminder that trap is a slur, and GLAAD listed as a defamatory language. We talked about this in this article.
Linking to their own website with another article. Again, I won't spoil who they are. Try to guess.
On Twitter, rightfully pointed out how bad that was, referencing GLAAD's inclusion of trap as a slur and linking to an article about problematic translations. Seeing all of this, the fit of rage I felt as a trans person was massive. This rage only built upon seeing Junes' non-apology. What they said is fundamentally wrong and ignores just how hurtful the trap mentality is.
Alright, so you're trans and you find this mentally problematic because, you know, there's no fun to be had. You need to make everything not fun. Let's make things not fun for trans people. Okay, I'll try. Here's Blair White, a trans, not criticizing traps necessarily, but criticizing anime in general. Here's another person pointing out that anime is the reason why guys love chicks with dicks.
I love me some chicks with dicks.
Chicks with what?
Dicks.
Thanks for that, Bearing.
Cheerio.
Yes, anime does make people to love chicks with dicks, and Blair responds by asking people to not put her in an existential crisis.
Referring to a person who dresses and passes as a woman as a trap is extremely dangerous. The idea that trans women are traps implies that they cause harm to cis men and women, which perpetuates the fear-mongering that allows society at large to defend people who murder trans women.
What? What? I'm gonna analyze this sentence. Trap is dangerous because it implies that traps are gonna harm cis men and women, which justifies society at large to defend people who murder trans people. What the flying fuck kind of delusional paranoia that you're living in, lady? How can you look at that Junes tweet and go, holy shit, June is justifying murder against trans people? What in the name of God? How can these people come into this delusional mindset?
In some states, it is basically legal to kill trans women. Because of this trap logic, called the trans panic defense, defendants will argue that the trans women tricked the man and therefore deserve to be murdered. In fact, it wasn't until very recently that the first conviction of an anti-trans hate crime even happened. 11 trans women that we know of have already been murdered this year simply for being trans. The previous 2 years have each broken the record for the number of openly trans people who have been murdered.
Okay, let's get to this one by one. In some states, it's basically legal to kill trans women because of this trap logic. What do you mean legal? As in, when you kill the person, you're not gonna go to jail? Okay, I'm gonna time travel back into by the time that was legal. Okay, I'm here now, and I'm going to kill a trans person. There, I killed one. I captured one, tied him up to my basement, and I killed her. Is that legal? Now I'm going to make a YouTube video and telling everybody, hey, I just killed a trans person. Would the police capture me? Oh, it turns out the police didn't capture me because apparently that is legal. So I went out to the police, plead guilty.
Okay, follow me. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Okay, time's up. Now get out.
But I killed a trans person.
Yeah, but she's a trap. So, after time traveling back to now, I just found out that the world is pretty evil back then. It's pretty evil. I feel sorry for all of you trans people out there, I really do. I hope you don't get murdered. I really do. Even though I just killed one. Well, I have a time travel machine, so I can just go back and make her alive again. Maybe she's alive in another universe. Maybe I entered another universe where she's alive, or maybe I enter a universe where she's dead. I just broke the time. Anyway, back to being serious. Our mysterious blogger brought in a couple of articles as citations. One is about how they are LGBT, therefore kill them is a really stupid excuse to murder. And it is. The other one is how a person is sentenced to prison for hate crime because he dated a trans person. He knew that he dated a trans person, broke off their relationship, and then killed the trans person because if his gang members know that he's dating a trans person, then he would be in danger. The other one happens in a neighborhood where gunshots appear to be common, and the motives are apparently unknown. Out of all of these, one of them technically can be because she's trans, but that's mostly because of how him dating the trans person is probably gonna put him in danger thanks to his gang members, not because he hates trans person inherently and he wants to kill them all. He dated one, for fuck's sake. I think I'm gonna focus my priorities in how to take down these gang members for putting too much distress to this entire thing. They all have issues, but to think that Junei is justifying the murder of these by saying the word trap is paranoid as fuck.
These trans women were often considered traps by their killers, someone who tricked them into being with them. Once their murderer realized that woman was trans, they felt justified in getting back at the person who tricked them. It's disgusting, but it's exactly what trap denotes. It states that a trans woman is a figure that exists to ensnare someone.
Good god, this really sounds like the ramblings of a paranoid trans normie. Even Blair White, who hates anime, would find this ridiculous.
One could claim that traps in anime or manga aren't technically trans women, but there's no narrative that expressly respects trans women while also featuring trap characters. No, most traps exist in worlds where trans women don't get to exist. Rather, they are seen as really being men, hiding behind feminine clothings and features. These narratives further the fetishization and the violence enacted on trans women.
There you go, guys. There you go. If we enjoyed talking about whether or not traps are gay, that means we are justifying the murder of trans people in real life. We are justifying the violence enacted on trans people in real life. How can you even connect the two without sounding like a degenerate lunatic?
Even in narratives that includes trans women, they're often the butt of the joke. When we see an actual trans character in most anime, they're usually portrayed with overtly masculine features and flamboyantly feminine personalities. Both the idea that trans women can't pass and that those who don't pass deserve to be mocked are extremely harmful.
Oh, for fuck's sake, watch Ouran High School Host Club. You're clearly way beyond your pills at this moment. These fictional things in anime will not instantly make people go, oh my god, trans people, I hate them, kill them. In fact,
If you don't want Amelia, you can always have me.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I didn't know the Knights had hot cat girls too.
Yes.
Actually, I'm a boy.
Yes.
like that guy said, anime is the one making us love traps. Anime is bringing you good PR. Even when something is clearly beneficial to you, you still have a problem with it. We really can't satisfy these fuckers.
Cisgender traps get to pass while the narrative reminds you again and again they aren't actually women. Trans women who pass are a trap, and it's funny that a man would want to be a woman. Trans women who don't pass are scary and are here to be ridiculed for their attempts. Trans women are placed in a no-win situation.
I can't win with these people. When we love you, that's fetishization. When we hate you, that's problematic. How can I win with people like you? And by the way, traps aren't just for the guys. There's this thing called reverse traps, aka biphonin. Characters that appear to be a guy but turns out to be a girl. This is traps for the ladies. The opposite gender gets mocked too in anime, so calm your fucking tits down. And yes, I slipped in a couple throughout the entire thing. And no, I won't answer what genders they are. That's for you to figure out.
This can't be dismissed as Japanese culture. Trans women exist in Japan, and it's not a pleasant world for them either. Trans people in Japan must be diagnosed with a mental disorder in order to get their IDs changed, wear school uniforms that match their gender, and so on. It's only now in 2017 that LGBT plus kids in Japanese schools are getting any protection, and that people are pushing to stop treating trans folks as if they're mentally ill.
Okay, Japan was a very conservative nation, and just now they're making laws that make sure that LGBT people are treated well. So, your entire argument lies on the foundation that saying traps mean justifying murder. And your argument is going, please care about trans issues. I want to care. I really do. I just don't see why the hell do you have to connect that to anime traps. A completely different topic. I mean, you're probably the sort of person who talks about how horrible the Holocaust is when we're talking about the multiplayer of Call of Duty World War II.
There were many reports in Japan about how during the tragic earthquakes and tsunamis, trans people, particularly trans women, were not able to get aid, temporary housing, and other basic tools simply because of their gender identity in a time of national crisis.
Okay, I get it. Trans people get it really bad in real life. Why don't you go fight the rights for trans people to live normally in real life and not being discriminated out there, instead of going to anime and go, stop saying traps, you piece of shit, you're justifying murder and discrimination. What, for saying the word trap in an anime context? Are you fucking kidding me? You just said it yourself that there are still big enemies out there that actually impact trans people. Anime should be the least of your concern. There are still clearly huge enemies out there that you need to take down in the world outside regarding LGBT people. Why don't you fight them? Why fight stupid dumb things that weebs fap to when nobody is around? Oh, I know what you're probably gonna say, but you're making videos about us. Who is more pathetic? I'm not the one advocating for the safety and peace of LGBT people. I am advocating for everybody in anime to have fun without moral busybodies going, please think about my issues. Let people enjoy the trap anime for fuck's sake. And so far, I'm doing my job very well. Better than you do.
This is not a trap. This is suffering. If there's any trap here, then it's the social structures that justify the continued use of the trap trope. The reinforcement of this harmful trope and others like it create a cultural stigma that spreads. Trans women aren't seen as women by the majority of society, which forces them to either torture themselves by hiding who they are or to be on their own.
Oh my god, and now you're making me believe that you don't even know what the word trap means when being used in this context. Since you are implying too much in this entire thing of what the word trap means, let me imply too. You are implying that us using the word traps means that we are justifying the murder of trans people in real life and create a cultural stigma in which trans women are not seen as women in society. You dimwits cannot distinct between fiction and reality. You can't even accurately measure how much impact that one would have towards another. Oh, and you're showing Ruka from Steins Gate. Nobody who came out of Steins Gate thinks that Ruka is not a human being who doesn't deserve empathy and should be murdered. There's an entire fucking plotline reserved to her. Or him, depending on what timeline you're talking about.
Just because something is historically offensive doesn't mean it gets to keep being offensive. Calling something a genre doesn't give its offensiveness a pass. We don't live in the long, long ago. We live in the now. And now, more than ever, it's important to think critically about the terms we use. Language evolves.
Current year intensifies.
We have to understand how these words work, and that some simply aren't worth keeping. Furthermore, it's up to the communities hurt by a word to decide if it's a slur. Any decision to reclaim or reject those words is up to that community and no one else. It's not for an outsider of the trans community to gleefully decide if it's bad or not. Right now, trap needs to stop.
You're saying that it's up to the communities hurt by a word to decide if it's a slur. As in, if I am offended by the words that you say, it's up to me to decide what you can and cannot say. It's not for an outsider to the trans community to gleefully decide if it's bad or not. Now, I'm gonna pull this same moral rhetoric up your ass. It's up to the communities hurt by the word feminist to decide if it's a slur. It's not for a feminist to gleefully decide if it's bad or not. Listen, AniFem. Have you ever thought for just a second that whatever kinds of moral rhetorics you're pulling here will bite you in the ass? Your acts of policing others and telling people that trap needs to stop? What happens if the exact same thing happens to you? I cannot believe I cited Mary Sue as an example, but in my last video, here's what Mary Sue has to say.
This kind of puritanical policing all comes from a place of misogyny, tied up with moral panic around what women might be reading or writing. It's exactly these sorts of arguments that have historically suppressed and silenced art created by women. And in our communities, those online spaces of our own, we should be fighting to resist any kind of suggestion that the people within them aren't free to create something on grounds of virtuosity.
Yes, that was a paragraph from a Mary Sue article, and it's criticizing these sorts of actions. One of the writers of the Mary Sue realized that their actions of constantly moral policing people for what is and isn't right to say under the guise of social justice is preventing them from enjoying life and having fun. It's preventing them to discuss ships and have fun enjoying the time in the fandom. It's the simple golden rule. Do unto others as others would do unto you. If you're gonna go moral police everybody in the community of what is and isn't right to say, it's going to bite you in the ass eventually. It will bite you in the ass because your community cannot stay a collective. And yes, this entire article is coming from none other than AniFem. Anyway, my last AniFem video, AniFem, Mary Sue, Jesus Christ, my old enemies are coming back. Anyway, my last AniFem video concerns about how a female freelance blogger and anime fan is being booted off for so many stupid reasons. AniFem, I leave you all alone for like years now because Believe it or not, some of their content are not that bad. I know, shocking, but some are good and informative. However, I put the nail in the coffin because you treated a freelance blogger horrendously. And now I do a little revisit, and you're attacking traps and moral policing everybody. Even AniFem back then wouldn't fall this far. Yeah, AniFem back then was a lot tamer than this. Believe it or not.
While a publisher may be free to publish trap genre stories, they shouldn't be free of any repercussions. If a publisher chooses to sell something harmful, we are free to say, hey, that product is bad.
Oh, you disingenuous motherfucker. Your criticism is not trap is bad. Your criticism is trap is immoral. You say that the word trap would lead to people justifying the murder of trans people. That makes it immoral. That is never good in any forms of way at all, ever. If you say, for example, this anime that contains traps is pretty bad, then that's fine. Nobody's going to be harmed from bad anime. If you say that saying the word traps would justify murder, that's fucking horrible, right? You're making it as if every single time someone uses the word trap, one trans person is going to be murdered in real life. So let me ask you a question. Are traps bad because... Traps. Okay. Let's not use the word traps. Fucking hell. Sorry. Chix with dicks. Fuck.
Trap content can be poison to the trans community with slow, awful effects. A publisher can't get a free pass for transphobia because the content they're releasing is a fetish genre. Trans people are not your fetish. We are not here to be exploited for dollars, especially with something as insulting as the trap genre.
Alright then, let's not have traps in the anime community. Oh, for fuck's sake, why is it okay when they say it?
We are not here to be exploited for dollars, especially with something as insulting as the trap genre.
We are not exploited for dollars. Keep that in mind for later.
Young trans people engaging with these communities begin to get toxic views of themselves. I personally had a toxic view of trans people until only a few years ago when I finally came out. A lot of that was because I saw myself as a porn object. So many stories tell trans people that they aren't people. They are a joke, a gag, a fetish, a trickster. It misgenders them, and then tells cis people that it's totally okay to misgender them too.
You saw yourself as a porn object because you saw so many stories that tell trans people aren't people. That's like saying I saw myself as a cannon fodder because I saw men enemies being killed in video games and films all the time. You have a fucked up perception about the world and you're blaming it to anime and traps? No. Get yourself consulted immediately.
This is painful and does nothing to help the trans community's tragically high attempted suicide rates. A recent study found 50% of trans people attempted suicide. In addition, 2 out of 5 trans people surveyed had been sexually assaulted, showing how often trans youth are fetishized. We can't pretend trap porn is innocent when it actively assaults trans folks.
And you know what else that doesn't help? You telling anime fans to stop using traps. How is this going to help? I don't see how this helps. This only makes people hate trans people more. I mean, you've done an amazing job on absolutely making trans people look like absolute killjoys. I believe that they aren't. I believe that I can hang around and have fun with them. I know some trans people or cross-dressers that are fun to hang around with. But you paint a really damn bleak picture about them. Also, if you get suicidal for watching anime that contains traps, you have an illness that's way beyond past anime. Get yourself consulted. I know that sounds insulting for you, but that is the most productive action that we can take out of all of this.
Trans folks are not traps. We are people. People who
Wait. Who said that you aren't? Who said that you aren't people? When we say traps, traps are also people too. Who said that they aren't? Are you pointing out to criminal gang members that kills trans people? Who says that their behaviors are tolerated within the society? And the depiction of trans people in fiction does not always equal depiction of trans people in real life. For God's sake, just because the Brits and the Russians are always the bad guys doesn't mean that all of them are bad guys. Christ.
While some places are making progress or are in the process, it's a scary time for the whole community. We need to stop excusing shitty terms just because it's easier to say the same bad shit that was always said. We need to start considering how we can create narratives that include trans people and represent them.
Okay. What do you suggest to say then? What is the best way to say these anime characters that I showed, whether or not it's a girl who is actually a guy or a guy who is actually a girl, what is the best name for them? What is the best way to make sure that you are not offended? Because this entire article is about how to make sure that you are not offended.
In the end, everyone gets better stories if we work to improve our language and storytelling. It doesn't matter if we're translating or creating original content. We need to understand that words can cause pain. The hentai community, the anime community, and everyone else can all do better. Create content that includes trans folks, or at least doesn't actively hurt us. Together, we can make a more positive community a reality.
Alright, let's make a more positive community by going, hey people, stop using the word trap. That's definitely the sort of thing that anime fans would tolerate. I mean, for fuck's sake. And there you go. Anime feminists going through a moral guardian dilemma. Agree or disagree in the gayness of traps, at least they're not killing people. But hey, what's this? Ooh, questions.
If you're trans, non-binary, or otherwise gender non-conforming, how do you feel about the word trap?
Well, I am none of those, but then again, lots of people are also none of those. What does that even mean? As for how I feel about the word trap?
If you are a cis person who has reevaluated the use of trap as a neutral descriptor, what made you to change your mind?
I didn't change my mind. I'm gonna say traps more and more. Traps. 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 Oh shit, I killed trans people every single time I say the word trap. How the hell can I stop this? Please help me.
People use trap to refer to a particular trope. What better terms could we suggest that companies like June could use instead?
Steve, go tell them.
With slight tweaking, so many of these Japanese treasures could actively empower, celebrate, and embolden trans folks. What examples can you think of that, with small changes, could shift toxic narratives about trans people to become positive?
Nothing. Watch anime. Go to anime forums and you're gonna see lots and lots of people celebrating traps. It brings a lot of positive impact. It gives you good PR. And you're still complaining about it.
Young trans people engaging with these communities begin to get toxic views of themselves. Do you identify with this?
The same way I identify when random enemies that are men in video games die. No, I don't.
Alexis mentioned celebrating positive representations of trans people, including the pornographic. Do you have any recommendations? No links to piracy sites, please, but feel free to recommend by name and description so people can choose to purchase in the original Japanese.
Well, Ouran High School Host Club, Mariaholic, Hime Goto, Reigairu, Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun, Assassination Classroom, Natsuyasumi, Boku no Pico, Overwatch, Futa Hentais, just to name a few. Oh, and remember that part where trans people shouldn't be exploited for dollars?
Alexis Sergio is a freelance journalist, diversity consultant, and comic book writer. You can support this queer Latinx trans lady by going to her Patreon or by smashing oppressive systems near you.
We are not exploited for dollars. Unless if the dollars are for me. So you can either donate to her Patreon for smashing oppressive systems near you, or donate to my Patreon for making shit videos on the internet. Hey, my videos are shit, but at least I'm being honest with you. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click the like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon, donate to me on Streamlabs, and thanks for watching.